sun had barely risen over the silver skyline of New York when the news broke across every screen, every paper, and every whispering mouth in the city. Millionaire's daughter, Amelia Vaughn, given one day to live. It was a story too tragic to ignore. The daughter of Richard Vaughn, one of the wealthiest men in the state, lay in a sterile white hospital room surrounded by the cold hum of machines and the faint scent of disinfectant. Her skin was pale, her breath shallow, and her heart hung between life and death like a fragile thread in the wind. Doctors had done all they could. They said her rare heart condition, an aggressive, degenerative illness, had reached its final stage. "She won't see another sunrise," whispered the lead surgeon. And the world bowed its head in pity. But fate, strange and unpredictable, had written a very different ending. One that began far from the glass towers of wealth and comfort. In the narrow, sun-bleached streets of Harlem, a boy named Elijah Brooks woke up to another day of struggle. He was 16, dark-skinned, sharp-eyed, and worn beyond his years. His mother worked double shifts at the diner, and his father was long gone. Elijah had dreams, big ones, of becoming a doctor one day. But dreams were expensive, and reality was cruel. Still, something about him was different. He had a heart that refused to harden. Even in the poorest corners of the city, people whispered about the miracle kid, the boy who healed a dying bird with nothing but his hands and faith. The boy who prayed over an old woman's broken leg and watched it mend. Some called it luck. Others called it God. Elijah didn't know what to call it. But he felt something inside him, a warmth that grew stronger whenever he saw pain. That morning, as he walked to school, Elijah saw a newsstand flashing Amelia's story. Her photo, a beautiful young girl with chestnut hair and soft blue eyes, caught his gaze. He stopped walking. Something inside his chest pulsed, hard. The moment their eyes met through that printed picture, he felt it. A connection, faint but undeniable, like a whisper from heaven. He didn't know her, yet somehow, it felt as if he should. He stood there, staring, until the shopkeeper barked, "Hey, kid. You buying or just staring?" Elijah blinked, nodded, and hurried away, but his thoughts stayed behind. All day, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was meant to find her. That night, while the city glittered under the lights of indifference, Elijah knelt beside his bed. "God," he whispered, "if there's something you want me to do, show me." The air around him shifted. And though no voice answered, his heart began to race. Without hesitation, Elijah grabbed his worn hoodie and ran into the night. At the same time, in the highest floor of St. Mercy Hospital, Richard Vaughn stood at the window, watching the world below through glass streaked with rain. He was a man used to buying solutions, but money had failed him. "There's nothing more we can do," the doctors had said, their eyes lowering in practiced sympathy. His wife, Catherine, sobbed quietly in the corner, clutching Amelia's frail hand. Amelia, though barely conscious, whispered, "Dad. It's okay. I'm not afraid." But Richard wasn't ready to let her go. He'd trade his empire, his fortune, his soul, for one more day with his little girl. Meanwhile, Elijah's feet carried him blocks away, guided by nothing but instinct. The rain grew heavier, soaking his clothes, but something urged him onward. He arrived at the towering hospital gates past midnight. Security stopped him immediately. "You can't be here, kid," the guard said. Elijah's chest heaved. "Please," he gasped, "I need to see her. Amelia Vaughn." The guard laughed, "And who do you think you are?" "The president." But before he could push him away, another voice spoke, the voice of the night shift nurse, Sarah, who had seen Elijah before. A year ago, he'd come into the ER with his injured friend. She had seen that same light in his eyes then. "Wait," she said softly. "Let him through." The guard frowned but stepped aside. Sarah led Elijah to the ICU floor, whispering, "Whatever you're trying to do, you better do it fast. She won't make it till morning." Elijah nodded, his heart pounding. As he stepped into Amelia's room, time seemed to stop. There she was, pale, fragile, angelic even in suffering. Machines beeped in soft rhythm, each one counting down the seconds she had left. Elijah walked closer, trembling. Her mother looked up in shock. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" But before anyone could answer, Amelia's fingers twitched. Her eyes opened, and for the first time in days, she spoke, "It's him." The room froze. "You came." Elijah's breath caught in his throat. "Do I know you?" he asked softly. Amelia smiled weakly. "I saw you in my dream." Richard, furious, barked, "Get him out." But Amelia clutched Elijah's hand tightly, her pulse weak but alive. "Please," she whispered. "Let him stay." There was something in her tone. Something that silenced even her father. Elijah sat beside her bed and took her trembling hand. It was cold as winter. "I don't know why I'm here," he said quietly. "But I know I'm supposed to be." Her eyes glistened. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Then don't be," he replied, closing his eyes. "You're not done yet." And then, something happened. The monitors flickered, the air thickened. And warmth spread through the room like sunlight breaking through clouds. Catherine gasped, clutching her husband's arm. The heart monitor that had been slowing suddenly began to climb. Beep, beep. Beep, beep. The doctors rushed in, shouting orders, but Elijah didn't move. He was praying under his breath, tears running down his face. Amelia's breathing steadied. Her color returned. The impossible was happening, right before their eyes. What is he doing?" one of the nurses stammered. "He's saving her," Sarah whispered. The beeping grew stronger. Amelia's eyelids fluttered open fully. And for the first time in months, she smiled, a full, radiant smile that filled the room with life. "I feel warm," she said softly. The machine stabilized. Every number, every reading, normal. The doctors couldn't believe it. "This is impossible," one shouted. But Richard wasn't listening. He was staring at Elijah, the boy who had done what all his millions couldn't. When it was over, Elijah slumped, exhausted. "You'll be okay now," he whispered. Amelia squeezed his hand. "Don't go." He smiled faintly. "You've got a whole life ahead of you now. Live it." And with that, he stood and left the room, disappearing down the sterile hallways as dawn broke across the city. The doctors later called it a medical anomaly. The media labeled it a miracle. But Richard Vaughn knew better. He searched for Elijah for weeks, trying to repay him. But the boy had vanished into the same streets he came from. Some said he returned to Harlem and kept helping others. Others said he left the city entirely. No one really knew. But Amelia never forgot him. She told everyone who would listen about the boy who held her hand when death was near. The boy who believed when everyone else had given up. The boy who changed everything. Years passed. Amelia grew stronger, studying medicine, determined to dedicate her life to healing. Just like Elijah had healed her. And one day, while volunteering at a free clinic downtown, she saw him again, older, still humble. Still smiling that same quiet smile. "I knew I'd see you again," she said. He looked up, eyes full of peace. "I never left," he replied. "I just had to make sure you'd keep living your miracle." And she did. Together, they worked side by side, treating those who couldn't afford care. Giving back what money and privilege never could, hope. Because in the end, that's what Elijah had given her that night. Hope that even when the world says, you have one day left, love and faith can rewrite destiny. So if you're hearing this story right now, don't just listen, believe. Because miracles aren't just for the rich or the chosen. They're for anyone who dares to keep faith when everything seems lost. Sometimes, all it takes is one heart. One act of kindness, one person who refuses to give up, to change everything. And who knows? Maybe you could be that person for someone else. So keep believing, keep hoping, and never underestimate the power inside you. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button. Because there are more stories like this. Stories that remind us that humanity still shines brightest in the darkest nights. Subscribe, share, and let this message reach someone who needs to hear that miracles still happen.